What's up, YTPC? Uncle Willie coming to you from the coop. Today I'm going to tell a little story, true story. But first of all, I'm going to take care of some housekeeping. I am smoking my Bing's favorite, Savinelli. Nothing special about it. It's a good smoking pipe. It's a 6mm filter. Now I've got the balsa system in it. And not only is the balsa in it, some Dan Tobacco Virginia slices. Good stuff. I got a couple more tins in there. Then this jar is about a year old. But it's not about tobacco today. Well, it is, but it ain't. Anyway, my buddy Sam from over at Doing It Wrong. If you don't know who Sam is and you're not watching his channel, you're doing it wrong. Sam's a good guy. He does reviews, he tells stories. He responded to a story that curmudgeon that curmudgeon told the other day about lawn jarts. I think everybody that knows about them or played with them has a near-death experience with them, or they know somebody who had a near-death experience. I didn't have any, but my cousin did. In his backyard, the trees were so low down, we could only play like 10 feet apart because we couldn't get an arch on it like you would normally do. Because I guess you put them out at like 30, 40 feet apart, 50 feet. I don't know what it was. I was a kid. So my aunt told us, why don't y'all just take those darts and go up to the park where you got room to play? Okay. Send 4 or 5, half a dozen kids a quarter mile away from the house with no communication, unsupervised, with darts that are like 16 inches long with a pointed tip on them and like 12-inch circles to throw them into. Not a good idea. But we didn't get hurt nonetheless. And then eventually, after all the people that got hurt, they took them away from my cousin. And like I say, I never had any. Sam told a story about it where it turned into playing with regular darts, throwing them up, trying to catch them. Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, he got stabbed in the head. So that put it into regular darts and jarts and everything else. So listening to those stories reminded me, I was born in 1958. So in 65, I was 7. So I was a child of the 60s. We didn't have Xbox and internet, and we used to tie a string between 2 empty green bean cans and get like 15, 20 feet apart and talk through the cans and hear the vibration through your ear. I mean, that was our cell phone. We used to talk through 2 cans with a piece of string. That was how we communicated in the backyard. Well, we had a shed in the back. It was almost like a garage, but we didn't have access to drive a car into it. So it just had a big shed, big door on it, and to walk into the shed, there was a stoop that was probably, thinking back now about how high it was probably a foot or so off the ground. You had to step over to get into the shed. Well, my dad must have had 15 hammers. He worked in the shipyard. He was a sheet metal worker, or chipper, whatever they want to call it. And he had multiple ball peen hammer sizes and stuff, and different shapes, and all kind of different hammers. Excuse me. He would take 16 penny nails and start them and get them about a ½ inch into that stoop, and then give me a hammer, and I would sit there and bang them and drive the nails in. And you know, he'd put like 15 nails in there, and it'd take me, you know, when you're 5 or 6, 7 years old, banging nails like that, it takes you most of the day to do it. So that's what they used to do. Give us something to keep us occupied, and that's how we played in the 60s. But we had this big bag of black walnuts. It was a big burlap sack. And now, thinking back on it, it was probably like a 50-pound potato sack. That's where we used to get potatoes back in the day. It was full of black walnuts. And for whatever reason, we had all these kids were over at my house. It must have been some holiday of some sort, or a birthday, but there was neighbor kids over there, and I remember it was a couple of my cousins, and there's probably 6 or 7, maybe 8 of us out there. Well, we all got a hammer, and they gave us that access to that big bag of black walnuts, and we put them on the stoop there that goes into the shed. We put them on the stoop, bang them, you know, crack the walnuts, and then eat the ones that we didn't smash. Because, you know, take a ball peen hammer, and if you hit it hard enough, it's just going to smash it. Shells go everywhere. You know, we were having a good old time. Well, my dad had this hatchet. It gets better. My dad had this hatchet that had like a hammer end on it. After doing construction most of my life, I realized that it was a roofing hammer. It had a hatchet on one end and a hammer on the other. Drywall guys had one similar to it, but this was more of a hatchet type. Well, we were told not to mess with that hammer or that hatchet. Yeah. In the 60s, we were hard-headed too. We were told not to mess with that hatchet. My house, my hammers, my hatchet. I put a walnut down on that stoop, grab that hatchet, both hands. Yep. Dropped the hatchet, grabbed my head, went running into the house. First of all, I got a switch across my legs for messing with the hatchet. Then they checked out my head to see if I was okay, because I was bad, so I got my ass whipped before I got my head tended to. Well, luckily, the hatchet wasn't that sharp, and it was all good. So I get sent back out to the backyard. Yep. I was pissed at that point because I just got my ass whipped for doing something that I wasn't supposed to. And I picked up that hatchet, and I was determined I was going to break that damn walnut. Yep. I had a permanent, well, I still got it. I got a permanent part in the back of my hair, in my head back there from where I got. So when I grew my hair long and before it started receding, I had a natural part down the middle. So yeah, we weren't too bright. I won't say we weren't bright. I'll just say we were curious back in the 60s. But it's a good thing for some people. I guess it's a good thing that the internet came along and jarts were outlawed and kids were more supervised with hammers and hatchets and whatnot. Luckily 95-99% of us are still alive from things that we did when we were kids. So I hope you enjoyed the story. It brought back some memories for me that were bittersweet. Some of my friends have gone from back in those days, and I still think about that every once in a while, and I just start laughing to myself how I ended up, and I hit the same spot in the same both times. I couldn't hit the damn peanut or the walnut in the same spot twice, but I sure got my head twice in the same spot. So thanks for sticking around. Hope y'all enjoyed it. And just a quick check-in on the rehydrating of the tobacco from yesterday. I checked it before I came out. It's getting there because it was dry. I mean, really dry. So it should take another day. I'll bring it out tomorrow and it should be hydrated enough that it'll be able to be smokable again. So I had to change the little cup that I had because the bowl is only this thick, this tall, and the cup was that tall. So it's almost down on top of it where there's no room. So I just put a flatter bowl in there so the water the moisture could, have more access, more area access. It's the only thing I did. I took that in the house yesterday and switched the bowls out right away when I noticed how close it was to the lid, that it wasn't going to let it have enough room to rehydrate. So I'll bring that out tomorrow. I do believe I'm going to Boswell's tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, yeah. I'm probably going to Boswell's, and I will check in with you guys when I get back. Hope you enjoyed the story. Appreciate each and every one of you. And until next time, you know what to do. Don't hit yourself in the head with a freaking hatchet, but stuff them and puff them.